Hello, good evening. Welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Owners of buildings on waterways running out of time to move their valuables to safety, following latest warning from President Mahama to get state agencies to demolish all such buildings before the onset of the rains. We'll bring you some more. Also coming up as part of the Eid celebrations, the Muslim community is urging the government to take decisive action against the rising issue of drug abuse among the youth. And later, Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana calls for stringent measures against smuggling of unnourished drugs like red in the country. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Now, owners of buildings on waterways are running out of time to move their valuables to safety, following the latest assurance warning by President Mahama to get state agencies to demolish all such buildings before the onset of the rains. President John Mahama, while addressing Muslims during this year's Eid prayers, served the strongest warning yet that such illegal activities will not be allowed to pose a threat of harm to the larger community.
I must address a deeply troubling issue: the illegal construction of buildings in waterways, causing flooding and extensive destruction of property. As we know, the rains are about to start, and already we can see flooding because people have built and blocked the rivers, and so the rivers have nowhere to go but to back up. This reckless disregard for planning regulations and environmental safety is a major contributor to the devastating floods that continue to plague our communities. I'm aware of instances where private businesses, colluding with some chiefs, are turning water retention areas, Ramsaya sites, into built-up zones. Let me be clear, this must stop. Those structures will be pulled down. We will not allow a few selfish individuals to endanger the lives and livelihoods of countless others. The law will be enforced, and those who flout it will face the consequences. My brothers and sisters, building a better Ghana requires collective effort and shared responsibility. And on this day, I want to take the opportunity once again to call on our brothers and sisters in Boko to give peace a chance. On this holy occasion, where we celebrate the feast of Eid al-Fitr after the holy month of Ramadan, my brothers and sisters in Boko, let us give peace a chance. Once again, I extend my warmest wishes to all Muslims in Ghana and all over the world. Eid Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Our youth are the ones who will shape the country's destiny. Allow your faith to guide you, but also let your education and hard work serve as the tools that empower you to build a brighter future. So it is important to be a faithful Muslim, but it's also important to be an educated Muslim. As leaders, we will do our part to create an enabling environment that gives young people the opportunities that they deserve. And it is my wish that our youth in the Muslim communities will take advantage of these opportunities. I urge our youth to rise above the challenges and remain committed to personal and national development. Ghana needs you now more than ever before. As we celebrate the culmination of a month of devotion with 2 days of Muslim holidays, as I promised, I reaffirm my commitment to the social contract I have made with you, the Muslim community, and the people of Ghana.
And you heard President John Mahama speaking earlier at the Eid prayers. Well, this declaration, as in the earlier declaration to demolish structures in waterways, comes at a time the rains set in, exposing Ghana's drainage system once again. Let's speak to Dr. Richard Fiadumo. He's president of the Chamber for Local Governance. Good Evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Good evening to our cherished listeners and viewers.
I mean, this is not the first time we're talking about buildings in waterways. In previous times, we used to see a lot of demolitions. I'm just wondering what you think has contributed to this delay or, the persistence of it, causing huge floodings whenever it rains.
Yeah, thank you very much. Admittedly, this is not the first time we are hearing this, and we always hear it after the devastation has occurred. So we are gladdened by the fact that the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, is being proactive to warn ahead of time. I think not too long ago, he formed, a disaster committee that is headed by one of the deputy chiefs of staff. So clearly, he wants to move ahead of time. But the fact remains that the political push has always not been there. If you go to the Ramsey site, you go to areas that people have built within the waterway, the assemblies sometimes become helpless to the extent that the kinds of people who are involved in perpetrating this illegality are people who are politically connected or politically exposed. As a result of that, many of the assemblies are declared redundant and they cannot take action. If you, for example, see what is happening at the Temaramsa site, you have a situation whereby every regional minister comes and just comes to do shadow boxing. They go to the place, they seize a few equipment, and before you say jack, it continues and it even becomes worse. Just when you think that, action has been taken, in no time, you don't hear anything again. So for me, I am gladdened because the president is speaking ahead of the rains. So we want to see very soon the MMDCs will take post, and we expect them to make sure that people do not build within the waterways. It is the duty of the assemblies. They are supposed to allow for development control. So how is it that people are able to build in waterways at the blind side of the assembly? So sometimes, in as much as persons who are politically exposed are also involved, some of the assembly are also, the engineers are also complicit in this matter. People go and they see that projects have sprung up. Sometimes they go, I'm sorry to say, go and collect money from them and they don't go there again, and the people are allowed to build indiscriminately. So I am happy that the president has spoken ahead of time. I want to believe that he will make sure that these demolitions happen the rain setting so that nobody comes to say that his or her house has been targeted unfairly. Once the mapping is done and it is within the waterway, those structures must go, and the president must ensure that his task force do the work as it has to be done, because admittedly the assemblies have failed us.
The assemblies have failed us, and you've just giving us that double-edged sword kind of argument with where, the powerful individuals are involved and assemblies are not able to do anything, and instances when they have failed. Nonetheless, let's look at the situation where the assembly failed to ensure the right thing was done, and eventually buildings were put in waterways, even those who sold the lands as well. How would you expect the government or state agencies who, have been directed by the president to ensure they go on this demolition exercise go about this?
Yeah, so that is why I am particularly happy that this is being done or said ahead of the rains. So now everybody will see that these are preventive measures that the president and his team is taking. So once it's a preventive measure, everybody will see that, yes, this has to be done. And nobody will sit and say that it's a political witch hunt or anything of that sort. But if we wait and the rains come and then the rains cause this devastation to other people, then it now becomes difficult, because what we have seen in the past is that politicians only gloat when there's a disaster. They go and do shadow boxing, and as if they want to solve the problem. At the end of the day, they carry the media away and nobody gets to hear what happens there. So if it's an action or activity that is going to happen ahead of the rains, that is where I see some modicum of seriousness on the part of the president, because we will not wait for it to happen. So once the president has spoken, I believe all those who matter, who have to take action for us not to get to the stage where the president doesn't want us to get to, they will take action, because ultimately, if the president has spoken and those who are the actors do not act, it's possible it can cost them their job, and they will take it serious this time around. So that is why I think that the actors will take it serious. The only challenge is that we don't have MMDC at post at the moment who will be able to champion some of these things. But as we speak, the assemblies continue to run and operate. So once the president has spoken, the coordinating directors can take action and make sure the engineers go to make sure they mark all buildings which are in waterways and ensure that those buildings are taken out before the onset of the rain.
So that will be the first step. Moving forward, don't you think that we need to have a comprehensive look at this, where we're looking at the Lands Commission? Because at the end of the day, when you go to buy a piece of land, you go and do your search to ensure that everything is all right with it before you go ahead. Town and country planning. Everybody must be involved to ensure the right thing is done. Don't you think so?
My sister, every assembly has a department. They have a development planning, they have fiscal planning. So town and country planning development, every assembly has it. The question is, why are they not doing what the taxpayers are paying them to do? It is because they do not have the political backing. Because sometimes they will tell you of the scene that sometimes you take an action, the next time you see you have been out for transfer, they will go and throw you somewhere and say that it's a normal thing. Now, transfers are beginning to become like punishment. So sometimes they also they want to do approach, and they also want to avoid the consequences of it. So it all boils down to the political will. If the president is determined to make sure that all buildings in waterways are taken out, he will give that directive to the MMDCs, and the MMDCs will comply because they know that this is direct order from the president. But if it is not direct order from the president and they do, and then before you realize, somebody calls you and says, if you are not careful, I'm going to show you where power lies. MMDCs also know that, yes, they were appointed, and if they want to step on the toes of some people, it can cost them their job. Then we have laxity setting in. So for me, I think that it is the political will, and once the president has spoken, I have no doubt in my mind that he's committed to it, and he should crack the whip to make sure that that is done. Anything less than that, without a political will, next year, by this time, you and I will be talking about floods again for buildings which are in waterways. So I think the time to act is now.
Indeed, the time to act is now. Dr. Richard Fiadumo, thank you very much for speaking to us.
The pleasure is mine.
And you had the president of the Chamber for Local Governance. Well, a cross-section of Ghanaians have also been sharing their views on this. Listen.
I agree. So far as it is going to help to limit the rate of flooding in the country, especially in the capital. But then again, it begs the question that if that is where people live, then we should have alternative way of housing them after demolishing their structures. Because I would partly blame it on lack of government effectiveness and lack of prudent policies to de-urbanize the capital, which has more or less led to the current struggle or the current situation that we have on our hands. And so if it will help to some extent, yes, but we should also think about the people who are going to be displaced when these structures are demolished. We should find an alternative way for them, because there again, it is not their fault that they do not have better places to live.
Yes, so I think I agree with the president's decision. So only if he has an alternative place for them to live at the moment, that would be good, because you can't just demolish someone's house they've lived in for several years and expect them to just move. You need to give them an alternative. So if he has other plans of moving them somewhere else, then I think it's a very good initiative.
I think it depends. I would agree if the government would make concessions for these people so that they can land on their feet at other locations. But if such concessions aren't available, then I don't think demolition would be the best solution.
I think it's a good idea if the government decides to demolish all those buildings that are in waterlogged area, because in the long run, it will help solve flood issues. Most of these areas are flood prone. So if they are able to clear all of them, I think it will go a long way to prevent any unfortunate natural disasters. And what I will advise the government to do is to compensate these people, so that even if their properties are destroyed, a little bit compensation will go a long way to appease them somehow. Yes.
Your views there. Well, still on the matter and on the celebration of Eid, and not every Muslim is in a celebratory mood, because some residents of a community near Nima were left to count their losses after a fire swept through a 7-bedroom house, resulting in the death of a young man and another person injured. Lord Edwasari was there and reports.
Instead of joining in on the celebrations of the Eid, these members are reeling at the effects of a 3-hour inferno that destroyed their home. What began as a preparatory meal for the Eid celebrations ended up becoming the means for destruction.
Mami no one join, but na gas ni leak. Me so ni say gas ni leaky. Nti one a menu kito be friend me say e dai be issue how, but obi ni dan. Em so cut fish abase dey. And I'm quite friends. My friend, I'm cutting off. I say, I'm be fusing because I may say a damn issue, and I'm off a be fusing the but oh, you fusing is so near the niche. I'm going over by 9 late, one band them over by 9 late.
Other housemates recounted their losses.
I bought new jalabia. I said I could go down today. All burnt. Now I left all of this in my skin where I get. Some people now before they make contribution, they buy me jalabia. Somebody give me to somebody. I don't want to give you. I don't see how yet. It's inside the black rubber. See my room, everything. I don't pick anything. I want to enter the room. Smooth. It cover me. We are wrong. Come back outside.
I say, "Obi, and then, and you're careful, because at the end, you let me to be until the best thing is say, Nipa wo hodia. He said before Uber BB say, we share now you're careful, and yes sir." In
his bid to help the situation, this good Samaritan lost his life.
Like oh boy, no you gas in the free demo, and like open to my would be no the gas and so fine. Or you use zingle, or we ain't or back here more inside. Like I see be shock or be so be me and then shocking. Or chemuna only side incident, and or you not tidy. Hey, or be boy.
The housemates had a message for the family of the dead young man.
And for his family, I'm very sorry they are going through hardship on this day. He's our brother. He's a very good friend of ours. May his soul rest in peace.
This fire started around 5:30, and if you look closely around, virtually everything is gone. Household items, cooking pots, everything you see here has been burnt. None has been able to be salvaged. We'll see how the coming days will look like and how they're going to recover from this.
Lord Edwasari filed that report. We stay a bit longer on this, and the Fadama Muslim community has also urged the government to take decisive action against the rising issue of drug use among the youth. Let's listen to Zongo Chief of the Jeddah community speaking to the media earlier.
Charity begins at home. When the parents do their own, they try to, take their responsibilities well. I think some of these things are avoidable. This is a responsibility, especially on the father. So when these things happen, then you see the children begin to want to fit into society. They begin to think more. They go outside. They are out of sight of their parents. They go outside. They meet bad people who influence them to get into these things. So we need to work hard, especially the parents.
Some 20 minutes past the hour of 5, and we go to the Upper West region because there was an interesting development earlier today when hundreds of Muslims converged at the Jubilee Park known as Na Siddiq Abomi Park to mark the end of the 2025 fasting month of Ramadan. The Catholic Bishop of Wa, Most Reverend Francis Bomansan, joined the Muslims to mark the day, and we have our correspondent Wangara joining us live on the line. Wangara, just first of all, tell us how the celebration went earlier today.
Yes, in the early hours of today, the Nasidigi Bomi Park in the Wa metropolis became the center of attraction, hope, and spiritual solidarity, as both young and elderly converged to mark the end of Ramadan. And aside this, it was also a historic scene as the Catholic Bishop of Wa, Most Reverend Francis Bomansan, equally joined the Muslim community to observe this day. While he was addressing the congregation ahead of the prayers, he called on the Muslim community to be united, and then he encouraged, he says, the two religious groups are one family, since they were all children of God. And considering the participation of the bishop in the Islamic gathering like the Eid prayers, it is very significant for several reasons. One, someone can talk of the interfaith dialogue and cooperation, where the attendance of the bishop symbolizes a willingness to bridge the gap between the two faith communities, while also fostering greater understanding and respect for each other. Also, it also promotes a sense of unity because the bishop participating in each body's participating in the other's activities demonstrates their commitment to unity and cooperation, and above all, mutual respect and understanding is one other significance that we cannot do away with, because the presence of the Catholic bishop in the Islamic faith and its tradition also acknowledge the importance of the Eid prayer. So to the Islamic community in Wa, they were so happy for their historic participation, and then they call on both religious bodies to be each other's keepers and to also come together to ensure they give assistance to the least vulnerable in society. So the
Na Siddiq Bomi Park in the Wa metropolis became the center of attraction, hope, and spiritual solidarity as both young and elderly converged to mark the end of Ramadan. Aside from this, it was also a historic scene as the Catholic Bishop of Wa, Most Reverend Francis Bomansan, marked the day. Addressing the congregation ahead of the prayers, the Christian-Muslim Dialogue Coordinator, Father Aloysius Noalabon, who delivered a speech on behalf of the bishop, called for peaceful coexistence between Christians and Muslims. He described the two religious groups as one family since they were all children of God.
This possibility in the spiritual calendar offers us a unique opportunity to work side by side, Christians and Muslims, in a common process of education, prayer, and charity, so we can worship God with clean hearts and pure intentions. Muslims and Christians can bear witness to this hope in a world marked by injustice, conflict, and uncertainty about the future.
The 2 Raka special prayer session was led by the West Central Mosque Chief Imam, Al-Hajj Ahmed Yahya, and attended by many, including the Yarana, the Regional Chief Imam, and the Overlord of the Wala Traditional Council.
And you heard our Upper West regional correspondent Wangara earlier with that report. Let's now take you to Kaswa, where a Muslim-dominated town in the central region where the Islamic leadership there has bemoaned the high incidence of crime and violence, which has drawn a negative talk for the area. Listen to the Imam for the area talking.
Prayers to mark the end of this year's Ramadan was solemnly held in the central Muslim-dominated central area of Kaswa. Delivering his sermon to mark the end of the service, Sheikh Misbah, the Kaswa chief imam, admonished Muslim youth to avoid the use and abuse of illicit drugs. He emphasized parents' responsibility to nurture their children uprightly as required by Allah. Concerned about the violence tag associated with Kaswa, the imam also advised dwellers of the highly dominated community to completely avoid engaging in violence. Osman Redwan Tanko Mohammed is the spokesperson of the Kaswa chief imam.
Asema oka ni se otuefu se yembo modin se afiwe nu na yembo brapa basabasa yo nkambom yembo modin se ebekoso e wo Kaswa ha yedin asai dada.
The imam admonished us to be united, set good examples, and avoid engaging in violence. Already, Kaswa has a negative name tag. We should also ensure that our children are properly educated to attain higher heights. Phyllis Nakoyo Okuno, Member of Parliament for the Utisime East constituency, who graced the occasion, pledged to tackle developmental challenges within the Zongo communities in the constituency.
But when we come down to the Utisenya East constituency here, there are also a lot of things that have been highlighted, or even in my campaign messages that we have started. So far, our message was really centered on the youth, on employment. We've been able to employ a lot of our youth. We are also into works, and I think maybe tomorrow there is going to be some sort of inspections on some secondary road projects within the constituency, and by the end of April, May, some other road projects would also begin in certain parts of, like we are looking at roads like Otames, UN City. We are looking at Peace Town, Last Stop, where the drainage is. We are looking at Dada to Kuman. These are major roads. That's when we think that these roads are constructed, they would.
And Beatrice Adu found that report from the Central Region. Now to another disturbing issue, and the Executive Secretary of Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, Dr. Dennis Senawiti, has called for strict enforcement of regulations governing the use of unapproved medicines like opioids or red in the country. His call follows the rising concerns regarding the misuse of the drugs, which has adverse effect on the health of the youth. Listen to exactly what he said earlier.
I think they may be right in a sense, because as long as there's a documented proof to show that some pharmacies sell this drug, then anyone who makes that assertion will be right in doing so. But that is only part of the problem. You see, the way we run healthcare in Ghana, especially direct-to-patient care, is something that has to be looked at. In Ghana, for instance, a businessman or investor who has money can engage a young pharmacist, and that young pharmacist can, as a professional healthcare provider, help set up the pharmacy, and then the person can do away with the healthcare professional, and then run the pharmacy as a business without the input of the pharmacy, or the pharmacist. And that is a big challenge. And so if we want to make headway and ensure that community retail pharmacists are healthcare providers, primary healthcare providers, there will be a need to really look at the law in itself, making sure that anyone who sets up a retail pharmacy to offer direct-to-patient care is a pharmacist. And so that person then becomes liable and responsible for any unethical unapproved or unprofessional service that is provided there. But as long as there is a proprietor who's a businessman, an investor who has money and make promises to a young pharmacist, bring the pharmacist, open the facility, and then finds a way to get rid of the pharmacist, all the person needs to do is to go to the pharmacy council and say that this pharmacist is no longer working for me, and the pharmacy council will get a new pharmacist to replace him. It takes some time, and sometimes they hardly close the facility.
Right.
And so these are a lot of issues that are happening in the sector. I think that coming to the fore as this issue has, I think there's a need to relook at how we license healthcare providers of provision, especially those who offer direct-to-patient care. You can leave the wholesale distribution to the businesses to run as long as they have a pharmacist to help them. To offer direct-to-patient, I honestly think that we should relook at the law and reserve that to only pharmacists so that can be done. It can be held responsible where your license can be withdrawn and you can even be barred or banned from practice as a pharmacist if you are found liable.
And I heard that the Executive Secretary of Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, Dr. Dennis Sena, in a related development, Deputy Greater Accra Regional Commander for NACOC, Ruiz Hakim Udur, says efforts are underway to educate students about the dangers of substance abuse with a focus on public schools. He spoke earlier on Big Issues on TV3.
Globally, studies will tell you that between the ages of 15 to 60 years, people are already using these substances. Drug abuse is no respecter of status. We have people, white-collar job workers, blue-collar job workers, laborers. It cuts across. Nobody wants to be addicted to a substance, but drug abuse or the progression is like a slippery slope. So you go in there and before you realize you're already in it. We are currently sensitizing schools in Ghana West. So we are going to all basic schools in Ghana West, from Kotoku, Media, Mayera, even Wednesday we are going back. We do private, but now we are doing for the public because the private sometimes that's one of the challenges. They will tell you they run a strict academic calendar, so giving you slot is a bit difficult. But there are some of them that through NAPS and NACOC we are able to Ghana National Association of Private School NAPS. We are able to do some of these. I know there's a private man running his or her business. It's up to him to give you Ghana Education Service will give you the letter. You take to the mistress or the principal, then the person tells you, you will hear from me. You give them the calls, you follow up. Yes, we'll get back to you. We have a tight academic calendar. But for the public schools, we are able, through the SHEP coordinators and the school counselors, we are able to get easy access. So for now, in Ghana West, we are doing schools there. And just last quarter of last year, we are to Kankwe, that's the Achimota area, Kankwe North, Achimota area. We sensitized all the schools, both private, public, secondary, and junior high school. And when it comes to the agencies you mentioned, if you look at our board, all these agencies.
Deputy Greater Accra Regional Commander for NACOC, Ruiz Hakim Udur. A new managing director has been appointed for the irrigation company of Upper East Region Eco in Navrongo. But following recent tensions at that organization, there are concerns that the new MD, Dominic Anarigidi, may have difficulty taking his position and functioning. Let's go to Castro Senyala, who is our man on the ground. Castro, what more can you tell us about this?
Yes, so the appointment of Dominic has come as a great relief to most residents who have been sharing their views since news of his appointment broke, I think 2 days ago. But then, in as much as people are happy, there are concerns that the bad publicity the company enjoyed and the fact that workers demonstrated and protested for the removal of the former MD, Dr. Bonaventure Aligibam, from office following his retirement, may have some negative impact on his leadership as a new MD. And so what are the concerns? The concerns are that, first of all, the leader, the workers, staff of the company may have a certain expectation of him. And so if he comes and is not able to deliver, that may be a problem. Also, farmers on the other side also have these expectations that they want to be fulfilled. For instance, the availability of water for the crop season, the availability of other support systems for farmers, and for that matter, if the new MD comes in and isn't able to perform, there will be issues, and that would mean the same things they did to the past one. Dr. Aligbam will be the same issues he would face. But then we keep our fingers crossed, and then we hope to see what will happen. And then, Beatrice, another very interesting thing is that, if you can recall, protests have, a lot of protests have gone on, hoping that, trying to get Dr. Aligbam to get out of, or to move out of the office, but they've been unsuccessful. I think the past government tried letting him hand over, and it wasn't successful. And so we keep our attention at ICOR to see if in the coming days, if a government takes steps to make him hand over, he would cooperate. Because in other events where the police and the regional minister would go and wait, he wouldn't show up for the event, and they would have to postpone or eventually do it without him. So we're looking at what will happen in the coming days as far as the bringing in of this new MD to office is concerned.
Castro, beyond the challenges related to the previous MD, what are the immediate concerns or challenges that this new MD will have to look at in order to solve the problems at this organization?
Yes, so some of the very pertinent issues raised by both staff and then farmers. If you recall, the demonstrations or the protests were always, a collective efforts by the farmers and staff. And so staff are looking for an MD who would work with them, cooperate with them, listen to, their concerns, especially if you're an MD. The understanding usually is that you are not a field person, and so you may not know what is happening on the field. And when we say field, we mean the farms. ICO has over 24 hectares of farmland, and so these farmers go on there with motorbikes and all of that and are able to collect data. So the staff are looking for an MD who would cooperate with them and listen to them when they come forth with the results of their research or the data that is collected from the field, so that they implement and then they are able to arrive at the goals that they've set for themselves. Then also we have the farmers who have been very, very loud on the issues of the availability of water. The past administration of the company, led by Dr. Aligbam, according to the farmers, do not make water or didn't make water available, and that actually impacted the rice output the season that just passed, as the company released water much very late than the scheduled timetable, and that impacted negatively on the growth of the rice, and the harvest was very bad. There was a decline in the rice harvest. And so farmers on their side hope that when the new MD comes, he's able to streamline some of these challenges and make water a number one priority, always releasing the water to the farmers on time for them to go about their activities. Also, they are looking for an MD who would organize farmer engagements every now and then, so that they are able to tell him the issues they are facing and for him to promptly address them. Not somebody who, like they described the other one, whose doors were not open to them, who would come to meetings sitting in his air-conditioned car and, waiting for and talking to them while they stand wherever they are. They're looking for somebody who is down to earth and would relate with them as farmers and understand that they need each other to work to be able to ensure that ICO runs smoothly for the benefit of the country.
Should we take it that the people who had concerns with the former MD are relieved now that eventually there's a new person to run the affairs of ICO?
Yes, Beatrice. Even when the news of the newly appointed MD broke, there was wild jubilation. In town, in Arungu Township, because people were very happy, and some even started passing very interesting comments like, "Dominic, don't go and become like Dr. Aligbam when you enter there." And some also passing statements like, "Whichever devil is in ICO that would make Dominic also become like Aligbam is rebuked in the name of Jesus." So basically there was wild jubilation, and people are really, really happy. And for the fact that, the refusal of Dr. Aligbam to leave office, that eventually caught national attention. For some people in Abrongo, wasn't the best. or wasn't the brightest of things to happen, because it sort of put Navrongo in a very bad light. Navrongo known to be a very peaceful place and all of that. They felt that it wasn't the best. So the appointment of this new MD, according to people who have been speaking that or engaging me, is something that is a nice development, and I think they've been praising the government for that appointment. And the fact that, Beatrice, let me add quickly that the fact that Dominic is a very young man makes his case even more special. And for that matter, and for that alone, the people are praising the current government for not bringing in another old person, but they've brought in what they say, fresh blood to rejuvenate the company, which is almost on the verge of collapsing.
Fresh blood, you say. My last question to you, Castro, before you go. I know that it would take the new MD some time before he's able to resolve the issues at ICOR. But have the people giving him, for instance, what they believe should be his immediate priorities?
Not at all. Before this interview, I was on phone with him, and he has been very thankful. He was very thankful to the media for, all of that has happened as far as helping to develop the region is concerned. Agriculturally. And one of the things he said was that he would open his doors to the media. He won't close his doors at all. He would be open to the media. He will work with the media to see how best he can use or leverage the media to develop the company. Now, people have not really given him any specific task, but then one of the tasks that he himself has come to understand, even before the people tell him, is the fact that ICOR has been in the news for the bad reason, or for the bad reasons. And so for him, when he comes into office, when he's fully sworn into office, one of the things he would like to pursue vigorously is to see how best he can give that shining name that ICOR used to enjoy before these issues of Dr. Aligbam came up for the past 2 years. And so that is the only thing he himself knows he has to do. But people or residents openly telling him what to do is something I have not heard. Also, the issue of the farmers having their hopes in him. For instance, ICOR is a rice cultivation hub, and it has always been a place where we get up to 20,000 tons of rice, seasonally. And so the past season where issues of water became topical and farmers were not able to get access to that, the understanding was that, the understanding now is that now that a new MD has come, he will be able to know how to go about it and engage the farmers, draw a different timetable that would, make water available, so that the district or the municipality or Tono would once again become, a very known place where rice comes from to feed Ghana and the rest of the world.
Castro, thank you very much for that comprehensive report. Castro Sanyala is our Upper East regional correspondent, and we stay up north because the Education Minister, Haruna Idrisu, is asking management of schools in the country to allow students to practice their faith without hindrance. Mr. Idrisu said this when he joined a congregation of the Ambariya Muslim sect to observe the Eid al-Fitr prayers in Tamale.
Let me conclude. I want to thank you all on behalf of Excellency for the faith and trust you have reposed in the name of the family. And I assure you that he is determined and focused to present against governance in the management of the economy and working to improve the quality of life of the country. Speaking today after the Eid celebration, I want to announce, as Ghana's Minister for Education, that every Ghanaian child and every Ghanaian is entitled to the full benefit of all the rights and freedoms guaranteed under the 1992 Constitution. Therefore, nor distance school have the right to deny any Ghanaian child the right to access education.
And you heard the Harry Idrisu, he's the Minister for Education. We do apologize for the poor quality of that sound. Now, the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, says it is likely to implement the soon-to-be introduced road toll system. The CEO, Julius Corte, says the authority would be able to use the new system to clamp down on cars imported into the country without the payment of the necessary duties. He spoke on hot issues.
The new road-ready system coming, road toll system coming. It is highly possible DVLA will not be responsible for road toll. Highly possible. Yes. Highly possible. Now we are bringing a system that will communicate with a number plate, with a number, and the aluminium plates cannot communicate with that system. So it is highly possible all number plates will be changed to a plastic one with a chip in it. That will communicate with the road toll system.
Okay.
Now, if you pass and the toll system is not able to communicate with your car number, it means that your car is not in our database.
Yeah, but how are you going to trace such a person? Because there will be no human intervention. So if I pass and your system is still not able to read it,
that number plates out.
And then you now have to find us.
Yes.
Find whoever is driving that car.
I'm telling you that it will reduce, if it's not kept totally, to reduce the number of Togo cars we have in the system. Because I'm paying duty, you are not paying duty. And we are cheating the system. And we are there to make sure no one cheats the system. Okay? And the boys will not have access to put the chip in the new one we are bringing. So if you bring a Togo car in now, you will not be able to register it. I'll just advise anyone, get to the DVA, get to the custom office and pay duty, and you are free to run your car, drive your car in Ghana.
I see.
And you heard the CEO of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, Julius Corte. Now, public libraries in Ghana are noted as places of learning and book lending. And in an era where Ghana's oral history is gradually disappearing, these sanctuaries hold the key to preserving its rich historical and cultural heritage. On today's episode of Ghana Mom series, Samuel Yeboah Adams explores the role of public libraries in preserving Ghana's rich cultural and historical heritage. Listen.
Public libraries serve as guardians of the past and bridges to the future. They preserve the heart and soul of the country and its people by keeping historical records that may be in extinction. The George Padmore Research Library and the Accra Central Libraries are examples of these sanctuaries where significant historical documents live.
If you come to the George Padmore Library on African Affairs, for example, we have books on how Greater Accra started, the settlement of Accra. The first building in Osu is available. We have how Labadi also started. All the great communities in Accra, how they started, we have books on them. We also have books on all the history activities of the country, the independence of Ghana, even before the independence of Ghana. We have books as far back as 1600s, 1800s. We also have all the newspapers, the daily newspapers of the country, ranging back as far back as 1950.
Unfortunately, only academic researchers visit these public libraries.
If you go to the Ghana Library app, we have majority of this information also available to them online, that they can easily go and have access to them. And also all our branch libraries across the country, even the Accra Central Library, the children's libraries in the country, they are also for free. And we have been organizing activities in the libraries like the reading clubs. We also have online courses made available to the Gen Zs, as you call them, which they are making benefit out of these particular programs.
But why is the younger generation shying away from libraries?
Now everything is technology, and you can easily go to. When I was even coming here, I used Google Map. You can easily go to Google and be like Ghana's history, and everything will just pop up for you to read. That's why I think people don't normally come here.
They have to be given a lot of I wouldn't say a lot of money, but in a sense, a way that whenever they want to do something, okay, they will be supported. You see, in order to get the place more active.
Many may argue that the public library system is not working, but the acting director of the George Padmore Research Library, Simon Tay, thinks otherwise.
We can still never do away with the physical or public libraries in the country, because they should not forget that they can just go online and have access to some of these books on Amazon and co. But the physical library is a little bit less expensive as compared to, the online information. And also, there is nothing like system breakdown. If you come to the library 24/7, we have access to books. You can just come in. Even some of the branch libraries are also open on Saturdays. They can just come in.
This is just a reminder that in the pages of a historical record lies within the essence of a nation. So the next time you visit a public library, take a moment to reflect on the role the Ghana Library Authority plays, which is not just lending and receiving books, but also preserving the heritage of Ghana.
Yes, so here on Hot Traditional 3FM 92.7. Stay with us.
Accra, Ghana, Africa, and worldwide. Join us on Inspirational Gospel Mix this and every Sunday, 8 p.m. to 3
What is your favorite scripture?
Well, my favorite scripture is Romans 8:28, and it says, all things work together for the good to them that love the Lord. Kwame, that is absolutely my favorite scripture.
Yes, your Inspirational Gospel Mix, a moment to get inspired with the best of inspirational songs and interviews to get you prepared for the new week. Every Sunday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. with me, your big brother, Kwame Adu, mixing G, mixing gospel. You can't miss it. You are blessed as you listen. 3FM 92.7.
It's the battle of the teams in a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen? Will age and tact triumph? Or will youth and energy win? Call or WhatsApp on these numbers: 0532 300 927 or 0532 200 927. Now, to join Team Comfort or Team Helen and enjoy holistic wellness coaching, specialized diet plans, and cooking tutorials, thrilling exercises, challenges, and activities, plus many exciting rewards. 3FM Fit Start is sponsored by Daffy's Health and Beauty, Bill's Microfinance and UGL Premier, and supported by Blue Skies and the Ghana Medical Association. 3FM Fit Start, your health, your journey, your victory.
And it's still here on Hot Traditional 3FM 92.7. Thank you for staying. Now, Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opukwajiman is reportedly in good condition following concerns over her health. The Vice President was said to have taken ill after work on Friday, March 28, 2025, and was receiving treatment at the University of Ghana Medical Center. A statement from the Minister of Government Communications, Felix Kwachofosu, on Sunday, March 30, 2025, said that medical experts had advised her to seek further medical attention abroad. Now, amidst growing concern from Ghanaians on social media, the latest update on her condition brings some reassurance. That's it for the news here on 3FM 92.7. Log on to shrenews.com for more news. My name is Beatrice Adu. Have a good evening.